twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous line o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallant, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the and the home of the that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the and the home of the
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I'm your host, April Chapman, and welcome to our Thursday live stream. And you guys, I say that as if I do a live stream every Thursday, and I don't. Okay? Sometimes I might do a live stream on a Monday. I might do a live stream on a Friday. It really just depends. Life is lifing. And so by God's grace, I happen to go live whenever time permits. So tonight we are live. I want to shout out to all of you watching us over there on Rumble. Let's not forget our Rumble audience. It's a few, but they are faithful. And those of you watching us on X, Facebook, and as always, my loyal day ones watching us on the YouTube. I want to shout out to all of my moderators who come in faithfully whenever they see me go live and try to keep things, to a minimum. We want people to express how they feel, but we don't want them to get disrespectful and out of pocket. And so I want you guys to just thank all of the moderators who do such a wonderful job of welcoming you to the live stream, putting you in timeout when necessary, and just kind of keeping things on task and trying to help me create a community where we want independent thought. We do, but we want to operate in a spirit of truth and transparency. And that's just how we do over here. So I want to welcome you guys to the live stream. As you can see from the thumbnail, we are going to be talking about the government shutdown. This, I don't want to, beat a dead horse. I don't. However, I've got friends who are government employees, faithful individuals who serve in a governmental capacity, whether it's a TSA or the IRS, which I don't even listen, okay? IRS is not your friend. However, I know individuals who work for these entities that are government federal entities, and these are good people. And my people, come from my people. And so now I'm like, all right, we got to set the record straight. So I wanted to spend some time and go a little bit deeper into this government shutdown to kind of help our Republican friends with the messaging that it's not that they're not on message. And we're actually going to take a look at one of the top ranking Republicans. We're going to, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. We're going to analyze a little bit of his take tonight. But what I want to do is I just want to cut through the noise and demystify all of the legalese or government BS. I don't use profane language. So we're going to call it government BS and just bring it down to a layperson's level to help the average American, whether you're a conservative or not. This is not even a bipartisan live stream tonight. I actually want you to share this to your Democrat friends. Share this with your liberal, progressive homeboys and homegirls and dudes and dudettes. Share it with everyone because we need to have Americans. We need to have a discussion that is rooted and grounded in truth. Now, I'm laying my cards out on the line. I'm letting you know I'm absolutely a conservative, right? I'm a brown woman that loves this country. You see the Star Spangled Banner, if you heard it with the Lowry sprinkled on it. Yes, I love this country. I'm authentically Black. I authentically love Jesus, and I am a Christian. However, I don't like the way things are being spun in the media as it relates to this government shutdown. And it pains me to see my people, the ones that the pro wokety woke blackety blacks claim that I don't love and claim that I hate myself. I don't like to see any of us led astray and lied to and deceived into believing that this shutdown is something that it is not. And so, this may not be a popular topic. It may not even get a lot of views, but this is important. And so, I want to talk about it tonight. Now, before we get into the meats of the content this evening, y'all, we have got to shout out to Vic Morton. Vic Morton is the artist. So many of you are like, oh, this is so smooth. That Star Spangled Banner rendition is tight and right. So I want you guys to, if you go over to the AJP Productions YouTube music channel, you can see all of the tracks by he is a friend of the channel. His name is Vic Morton. And y'all, my life is so wild that when Vic sent me this cut months ago, and I was like, can I play it, during my countdown? And he was like, sis, go off, do what you want to do. And then he recently sent it. No, okay, it wasn't recent. He sent me a message like back in September that I'm just now seeing today. So Vic, I want to apologize. Um, eh, y'all, if y'all knew the level of interruption that these DM messages cause in my day-to-day life, it is impossible for me to be connected and engaged with all of them. So I just don't really check them unless it's by God's sovereignty that I happen to open up my phone and it's got to be one of them days and I'll be like, let's go see what's going on in the DM. But normally, because I have two phones now, there's no way to keep up with it all. But I want you guys to go over and support that YouTube music channel. Brother Vic is incredibly talented. You ain't never heard a rendition of the Star Spangled Banner as smooth and cold and clean as that one. So you need to go ahead, go and subscribe. He drops new music all the time. In fact, there's a new cut that he dropped in September, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I know it's dope. I know it is dope. And so I just wanted to give a mention to him. The link to his YouTube music channel is actually, I believe, It is in the description of this video. You may have to just scroll down a little bit because y'all know my YouTube descriptions are long. I want you to know with full disclosure what I'm going to talk about when I do a live stream. So just scroll down a little bit and you will see it. But I just wanted to mention that before we get into the topic tonight. So shout out to all of you who are watching. I'm Karen. Listen, it is so nice. I mean, it really makes you when I listen to that song, it instills a spirit of gratitude. I'm grateful to be an American. I am proud to be an American. And I like the fact that Vic put his own little spin on it without diminishing the integrity or the words of what it's conveying, but he put a little lorries on it. You know how we do. We go when we get a hold of something, we like, oh, we got to zhuzh this up. Zhuzh it up. I mean, listen, I'll listen to an operatic rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, but the one with the lorries, it just hits a little different. So anyway, all right, you guys, we need to deal with the truth behind this so-called government shutdown. And I want to deal with it tonight because, yes, I am tired. I am tired of watching the same lazy headlines and the half-truths that we've been seeing coming from the media. And when we first started, I saw a few people kind of summarize what this is all about in the live chat. So shout out to all of the politically minded people who are like, listen, this is real simple. They made it real simple and binary, didn't they? But the government is not shut down because of Republicans and their inability to get their act together. It's not shut down because they just want to fund the billionaires. Like all of the AOC, what's the little fuzzy head, Bernie Sanders, all of their usual talking points about the oligarchs when he himself is an oligarch. We have to deal with their claims and just lay the truth out. Our government right now, it's shut down because the Senate Democrats refuse to stop playing games with your money and our friends and family's livelihood. That's what this is about. So, what I want to do, I want to talk to you a little bit about what the media won't tell you. We're also going to spend a considerable amount of time. I'm going to take y'all back to like, people are trying to understand what is a CR? Why do we need a CR? Like, why is the government only funded up until a certain point? What is this? This is crazy. And why do we keep going and hemming and hawing and doing this seesaw little, step in the name of love kind of dance with the government? I'm not from the government, but I am here to help. So we're going to talk about it tonight. So aspects of this conundrum that the media won't tell you is that the House of Representatives have already did their job. They've already done their job. They passed a clean continuing resolution, meaning there's no pork involved, no pet projects, no partisan wish list like, well, I need $1 million, for the women in Bulgaria who had C-sections with one eye closed. That's not what this is, right? It was just a simple bill to keep the government open while negotiations on all those other things continue. Okay? Are you following me? I hope you are. So, Congress, the way it is supposed to work, they're supposed to pass 12 separate spending bills every single year in order to fund the federal government. And the way these spending bills work, they're separate, but it's really for things like defense, right? Defense is important. Transportation, education, all of these different and various sundries and departments have to get funding. So there's a total of 12. Now, if you know anything about a budget, every organization or company has a fiscal year. So for the government, our government, the fiscal year ends September 30th, which means if those 12 bills are not passed and signed by October 1st, the spigot for the money just stops flowing. It's shut down. That's how you end up with the government shutdown. So, because Congress, they rarely meet deadlines. Is that a shock to any of us? So, because they rarely meet these deadlines, what they do is they use what's called a continuing resolution, or we can call it a CR for short. It's nothing but a little temporary band-aid, just something to just get you over the hump. And I'm going to explain what a CR, continuing resolution, actually does. Very simply, it keeps the government funded at the same levels as the previous year, but only for a short time. So that's either 30 days, 45, 60 days, very short period of time. And it's simply to buy Congress more time so they can hammer out a full year's budget. And we're going to talk a little later. We're going to talk about, well, when has that ever happened? Like, do we really even have a full year's budget? No, we don't. And we'll talk about it. But the CR, it is not supposed to be a Christmas tree of new spending where a list of I want this and I want that and who shot John over here because we need this, that, the third. No, it is supposed to be a clean bill, meaning we don't introduce new programs. We don't change policy. Okay? There are no hidden earmarks, no social engineering projects, none of that. It makes zero sense that I, as a layperson, have to explain this in simple terms to the American people, but I love my country, and so here we are. But your politicians, they've done a horrible job of communicating this to the American people. Why? I don't know. Maybe they just assume everybody knows this. Well, they don't. I had to actually learn this. I had to sit at the feet of the big homie, Vince Everett Ellison. You guys, shout out to Vince. If you are not subscribed to the Vince Everett Ellison show, you need to be. You need to be. He is a wealth of knowledge. He is a walking history book. No one that I know personally or just remotely adjacent to has a grasp and a depth and understanding of American U.S. history the way that he does. He ran for Congress in 2000 against funky Jim Clyburn way back in the day. So he has a very solid grasp and understanding of the way this works. So I've learned from the best. But as it relates to this budget, the CR, it is nothing more than a stopgap to keep the lights on and to make sure that the federal workers are paid while lawmakers finish doing their homework. So, I'm actually going to show you. We have a press conference from Speaker Mike Johnson. Since this is the 30th day of the shutdown, I'm going to react to that. And I want to just give you my take first, then we'll start and let, Brother Mike do what he does. But how did we get here again? Right? I mean, so many people, we're busy. We're living our lives. We're like, I don't know the ins and outs of how this government works. I know I vote and I know they take taxes from me, but outside of that, I don't really understand this, April. Make it make sense for me. So here it goes. Here's the truth. Congress did not pass its 12 regular appropriations bill on time, right? The House, they actually moved faster this year than they've done in previous years, and they passed a clean CR. I don't know. I might be able to pull up the name of the bill. It's like HR. Don't give me the line. Oh, wait a minute. HR 5371. So if you want on your private time, go look that up. Now, here's what happened. The Senate Democrats, they refused to advance it, what was already passed, unless they're like, we want to put some other things in it. Now, remind you, I've already explained to you what a CR is, a clean CR, what it is and what it's not supposed to have. They refused to advance it unless it included more spending, more pet projects. Now, I've already done a video on what the vast majority of what they want this money for. I've told you guys, Democrats are masters looking for slaves, and Democrat voters, if you're here, welcome. I love you, but I love you enough to tell you the truth. A lot of y'all are a bunch of slaves looking for masters. Why? Because you treat the government as if you're in a master-slave relationship, and now they have got you. They have got the chains on you, and they are controlling every aspect of your life to where you're actually at the mercy of what they're gonna do. Okay, we're gonna sanctification, and you go in and out. But track with me. Why do I say masters looking for slaves? Because they have spent, from the Joe Biden administration up until recently, spent a whole lot of time and energy wooing their next slave class, i.e. the immigrants. I hate to say it. I'm not calling them slaves, but I am in a hyperbolic way. I'm trying to help you understand the nature of the relationship as to why the open borders was so important to these Democrats. They've overplayed their hand. They've used the Black community up to where they can't get any blood from a turnip anymore. On top of the fact, platforms like this, platforms like A Righteous Perspective, platforms like Vince Everett Ellison, Brandon Tatum. There's so many Black conservatives who we've been punching these Democrats in the mouth, exposing, telling the truth of who these people really are. So now they're losing their edge. We siphoned a huge percentage of their voters away from them. On top of the fact, a lot of their voters are fleeing these blue cities. They're moving to more conservative areas. So now they're bleeding for voters. They're desperate for congressional seats. Because if you don't have enough representation, like for every, if I'm not mistaken, every 1 million person, that is a seat or an electoral college vote. Somebody fact check me on that. It's either, I can't remember, perimenopausal brain. For every 1 million people, that is either an electoral college vote. Let me see. Was that a text? Because somebody always listening. They be trying to help. Okay, I guess my help didn't come tonight. It's okay. But if you think about how many people have been fleeing these cities, they need a new voter class because they can't count on 96% of the Black vote anymore. Black men, y'all showed up and showed out. Yes, you did. You started thinking for yourselves. You started saying, I am not going to be your slave, not another further. And you have not been voting for the left. So now they figure, well, we have to replace these Black voters with somebody. In comes the illegal immigrants. Well, they figured out they can't just promise them everything like they promised the Blacks and didn't deliver. So now, instead of governing responsibly, Washington's now become this political theater, right? You got the House over here saying, well, we did our job. And the Senate says, not until we get what we want. And the question is, what do they want? They want health care, not for you, for illegals. Entitlements for illegals. And the American taxpayer is stuck in the middle saying, wait a minute, well, hold up, what happened? Y'all are in the middle. So the bottom line for you guys is that a CR is supposed to prevent chaos. It's not a new budget. It's a temporary extension of the old one, but the Democrats are holding it hostage because they want to spend more. They want to control more. So at the end of the day, all the wooing that they're doing, talking about healthcare, they keep leaving out the part about the healthcare is to woo illegals with more free stuff. And so I've explained this before. They are masters looking for slaves. And they're at the point now, they're like, we don't care if you eat. We don't care if you don't get a paycheck. We are doing the bidding of our handlers. I'm speaking as if I'm a Democrat. The Democrats are doing the bidding of their handlers, those freak nasty, open border, open society, George Soros freak nasty perverts, the Disneys, the Pritzkers. Those are the ones putting the battery in the back of these Senate Democrats saying, you hold the line. because they know they are losing so bad right now that this is their last ditch effort to get back in power again. And they know they got to do something. So you know what they've done? They've used the American people as leverage. They have used the American people as leverage to say, to woo our next class of slaves, we're going to hold up the paychecks of federal employees. Even the Bonnet Brigade EBT queens are not going to be able to get their money. And I'm trying to understand why the Republicans are the ones saying, we're not the party of entitlements, but at least give the EBT queens their money. Pay the air traffic controllers. Make sure their WIC gets funded. Make sure all the entitlements we've already agreed to get their funding. And it's the Democrats, the ones that the EBT queens they've given them their loyalty. They're the ones that's keeping food out of Taquayshawn's mouth. So what you gonna do about it? See, there's not a Republican senator that's going to explain it that way. Now, you might be offended because I called you an EBT queen, but you out here on the internet making TikToks telling us that you've been on EBT welfare for 15 years. So don't act ashamed now. I'm just telling you what it is. These are the people that's taking food out of Taquayshawn's mouth. But these are the people that you vote for, and you've treated the government as if it's your baby daddy, and you already know your baby daddy don't really care about you no way. I'm just the one to break it down real plain and to let you know it. Now, I'm a conservative. I have no problem making sure that our individuals, our seniors on fixed incomes, and our military, those who've served this country faithfully, and the disabled have the money that they need to eat. I want them to have EBT. I'm not that type of conservative where I don't want any entitlements. I am against government dependency. I am against the able-bodied individual that can work, that can learn a skill to work, but refuses to do so. You are the one I don't respect. You are the one that I'm like, hey, you voted for this. So I'm just the one that's going to tell you, this is not Trump doing this to you. The Democrats have overplayed their hand. So let's go ahead and listen. Now, I gave y'all the hood version of what's going on with the government. We're going to have someone a little bit more illustrious and poised, who's an actual politician, explain it, and I will interpret as we go. Y'all take a listen. Y'all doing all right out there? I hope so, because I'm laboring hard, and the sweat is... Father, in the name, only God is going to get me through this season in my life. Now I can't get the thing open. Hold on. I used to be able to open this really good. Why is it so? It wants me to die. Y'all, these lights are hot. Y'all let me know if the buzzing is too distracting. If it is, you got one or two options. You can watch me spontaneously combust, or you can give me some grace and say, we okay. So I'll wait till y'all tell me. Yes, this is the hood version. You know, I can waver in between both worlds with relative ease. All right, here we go, you guys.
Of the Democrat shutdown. And as there are millions of Americans this morning that are embracing themselves for further pain and hardship, we'll highlight some of that this morning. The Democrats, incredibly, are showing no signs at all that they want to end their shutdown. Now, they'll have another opportunity today. The Democrats in the Senate will have their 15th opportunity to do the right thing. We're concerned that they won't. And if they reject this for the 15th time, they will be ensuring that this shutdown continues past the November 1st deadline. And that is...
Okay, I thought it was 13 times. It's 15 times. That's even worse. I gave them some grace. They have voted for the fifth. This is the 15th time. I said that they'd voted 13 times already. My Lord.
A fateful deadline for a number of reasons. Starting on Saturday, let me give you a list of things that this means for the American people. It means that tens of millions of American families will struggle to keep food on the table because the SNAP program benefits will run dry. It means that WIC assistance, that's women, infants, and children, the nutrition programs, will be at risk of running dry. It means that Head Start centers, which serve 60,000 children nationwide, will be at risk of closure.
So that's EBT, WIC, and Head Start. Now, I would like for you guys out there, I need you boys and girls to raise your hands really, really high, and you tell me which constituency, which group of Americans you think is going to suffer the most because those three aspects of our government are not going to be funded. I'll repeat them again. EBT, WIC, and Head Start. Do you think that's going to be primarily conservatives that are going to hurt or Democrats? Y'all just type a D in the live chat if you believe it's the Democrats that are going to suffer the most, or if you're like, no, April, I think it's going to be mostly Republican. Republican voters are really going to hurt the most because those three aspects of our government are not going to be funded. All right, let's see where we go. I'm waiting for you to type. Go ahead and type it in the chat. The reason why I have to make this aspect partisan, you know why? Because the Democrats have had a huge segment of my people in a chokehold. Not just for the past 60 years, but I would say the past 100 years. They've had them in a chokehold. And since this is supposed to be the party of the people, if the government, if the senators who are supposed to vote, we need 60 votes. If we don't get some Democrats to have a heart, they're hurting their own constituents. That's who they're hurting. Because let me tell you something. Say what you want. Most MAGA folks, we're going to be okay. Now, I'm not saying that there's no MAGA that's on EBT. I'm not saying there's no MAGA that gets WIC. And I'm not saying that no MAGA supporters, Make America Great Again, that are not utilizing Head Start programs. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying overwhelmingly, all things being equal, who you think is going to suffer the most? It's going to be Democrat voters. You need to think about that. The fact that they are willing to impact your livelihood, play in your face with these three programs. And it's not just these three programs. Think about the workers, the federal workers, all of the Black women in the federal jobs, your TSA personnel, your air traffic controllers, individuals who I just want to go to work. My homeboy right now has to get up and go to work every day knowing he is not getting a paycheck. And because he's considered essential, he can't even stay home or go do Uber or go figure something else out while these darn Democrats play in y'all's face. He can't even do that. He told me a story of one of his other coworkers whose husband had gotten injured and he cannot work. And she is the main breadwinner in the house. And now she, because she is a government employee, has to come to work. She's an essential government employee. She has to come to work. She can't even go sit at home and do a stay-at-home, work-from-home job. She can't pick up no call center hours. She can't go do Uber Eats. She can do nothing. Because these Democrats want to play in your face. And these people have lied to you and told you that it's the Republicans that are doing this. Well, we're about to break it down. The math, we're going to make the math tonight. Since Jasmine Crockett claims Republicans can't do math, let's see her give a rebuttal to what I'm about to disclose tonight. Let's see her do the math to say, tell your people, Jasmine, that in order for you to have a filibuster-proof majority, you need 60 senators. Well, it's been a long time since we've ever had that. As a matter of fact, the last time we had a filibuster-proof majority was when Barack Obama was in office. That was almost that almost never happens. Might we add why he had a filibuster-proof majority? When he could have passed, and y'all little funky reparations that y'all be begging for, he didn't do it. If he was going to do something for you then, it would have been at that time, but he didn't. So here's the point. Republicans have already voted for this. You need 60 votes. 60? How many senators? All of the Republican senators have already voted, so that means you need some Democrat senators to break and vote so that you can get your EBT, get your WIC, get your Head Start stuff, and that these federal workers can get paid. So you tell me, Jasmine Crockett, what math am I failing to calculate? It's not that we can't do math. It's that you are a liar and the truth is not in you. And even though I could easily sit back and say, everybody who voted for a Democrat, you're getting what you deserve. I care about the American people and my friends too much to do that right now. So instead, I'm going to spend time on my platform exposing your nefarious lies because you've been lying. You won't tell the American people who funded your campaign, who's funding all these Senate Democrats' campaign, and why Chuck Schumer, who already voted for this budget as is, all of a sudden decide he want to get a backbone and hold the line. It's because y'all threatened to primary him with that nutcase, that fake Bronx bomber, AOC, who is a far left radical, a darn near communist. This is why they're doing this. But let me tell you something. Speaker Johnson's going to explain it with way less, it's going to be way less aggressive than what I'm doing right now. So keep the party going, Mike.
Millions of federal workers, and we've listed them here every day. You're talking about air traffic controllers and TSA agents and park rangers and Border Patrol agents, law enforcement around the country. The stewards of our nuclear arsenal will miss their paychecks. Thousands of flights, by result, will be canceled or delayed.
I've already experienced that. I almost slept in an airport 2-3 weeks ago because of the shortages. I wasn't even trying to go. I could have gotten where I needed to go had I rented a car and drove. The amount of time I spent in the airport, I left my house at 2:30. We did not fly out until about 2:30 a.m. And it's because the pilots and all of the federal workers were like, we can't leave. These people gotta go. They gotta go. But I've already experienced that. And I fly out of here, the week after next? I'm like, if I can get there, I'm going to do my best. And where I'm going, I can't drive. That's just not an option.
Our borders and national security will be directly jeopardized at a very dangerous moment in world history. And our country will lose tens of billions in gross domestic product. With each passing day, the pain gets more real. And the Democrats are guaranteeing when they vote to reject our clean funding resolution. We expect they will do that again today for the 15th time. They are showing no shame whatsoever in their actions. Now, just as we clearly know what is happening, which we've recounted here every morning, the American people can never forget. We also clearly know why it's happening. And I brought a few friends. We brought some colleagues here from the state of New York and New York City to share with you about some of what's going on here. Back in March, this is very clear what happened. Let me summarize very briefly as I can. Back in March, Chuck Schumer voted for the clean CR, the same measure that's on the floor now. He did the right.
I just told you that. Chuck Schumer voted for a clean CR he voted for it. I'm sorry, y'all. Sometimes I got to interrupt because it just gets boring listening to Mike. I like Mike. I know. He just need a backup singer, and I'm going to be his backup singer right now.
right thing, and he went on the floor of the Senate and he gave an impassioned speech of why we could never inflict all this pain on the American people. He meant it from his heart, and he was consistent in what he had done over his 44 years in Congress, always voting to fund the government. But when he did the right thing in March, he received an onslaught of criticism from the far left base and the Democrat Party. He almost lost his job. Many of you wrote about it. He was in jeopardy of not winning his next re-election. That's how serious it was. So Chuck Schumer got a bunch of consultants and staff in a back room, and they concocted a plan, a political stunt. And they determined right then that the next time there was a funding measure, no matter how meritorious and no matter how much it would cause pain to the American people, that he would vote against it. He would show a fight to President Trump so he could save his political skin.
So this is him faking big and bad. Are y'all following what Speaker Mike Johnson is saying? And if you don't believe Speaker Mike Johnson, you can go for back in March and pull the clips of Chuck Schumer saying the very thing that Speaker Mike Johnson is saying that he did. And then you can see the sudden shifts, the news reports and the threats of primarying Chuck Schumer with AOC if he didn't stand up to Trump. I'm like, you so stupid. This was not, there are times, I get it, where you like, we got to fight, we got to push back. But the stuff that these people are pushing back against are not even things that are valid, that don't even make sense. And this is why I'm at the point now, when I say I am so small government, you need to be a small government proponent too. Because these politicians have gotten so big for their britches that they are willing, they're like, we don't care, oh, it's going to have to hurt. We don't care who we hurt, we must maintain the little bit of power that we already have. And they'll do it at your expense. You elect them to represent you, but you see how they actually treat you? You're just a congressional number, but you're not an image bearer with a family that needs to eat. You're not an employee that needs to work for a living. You are political leverage. That's all you are to them. This is why I say you don't need to be beholden to none of these politicians, but you do have to hold them accountable. That's what you should be doing.
It's exactly what happened. He did this so he could prove to his base that he's showing a fight. And as a result of this charade, he has brought the Democrats to their lowest point in decades. Literally, the Democratic Party has its lowest approval rating. Democrats in Congress have their lowest approval rating ever in the history of polling. The labor unions, working class Americans, independents are fleeing his party. And they are coming to the party of common sense because they see us here trying to solve these problems. They see us here voting over and over and over to fund the government and give them their paychecks. And they see the Democrats dug in against it. And now Chuck Schumer is desperately trying to cling to power. Unfortunately, when you make decisions out of fear and political desperation, you have already lost control. And the new power center in the Democrat Party is one that should frighten every common sense American. The radical socialist wing is rising. It is led by people like AOC and Bernie Sanders. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer know this. They're smart politicians in that way. They can feel the political winds, and they know that they have to continue to act belligerently in order to gain the favor of the far left. It's their own political survival that they had put in front of the needs of the entire country. Let me say that again. The Democrat leaders in the Senate and the House have put their own political survival in front of the needs of the American people.
And what he means by that is that because they don't want to be primaried, the far left lunatics of their party are the ones calling the shots. These geriatric or younger millennials who think they know how to run a country and think that you're just supposed to pay for it, the ones who want to give you free everything, that have been spending and causing this budget to be so overwhelmingly unsustainable that when the economy crashes, You'll be begging for socialism. You'll be saying, please, master government, just give whatever you can do to help us. We want you to do that. This is why your Zohran Mamdanis are able to garner the huge swath of the New York City population and gain his support. It is, I can't even believe, but then I can, because I'm a product of the K through 12 or up until the 8th grade or 9th grade New York City public education system. I was heavily indoctrinated in the rudiments of Marxism and didn't even know it. Didn't even realize that the historical figures that were presented before me that I was so supposed to celebrate and venerate were all either Marxist or communist. That is not by accident. They are making sure that your children are heavily indoctrinated to where they don't know civics. They don't know how our government works. They're completely ignorant to history. They don't know who Karl Marx is, but they love the sound of free buses, rent stabilized housing. Everybody gets free. They love the way that sounds because our educational system has been hijacked to where your children don't even know the dangers or the implications of what it means to live under a communist socialistic regime. So what they do is they sanitize it and put little fancy names on it and say, oh no, it's not socialism. It's democratic socialism. Idiots. It's the same thing with a different costume on. That's all it is.
Exhibit A is Zohran Mamdani. New York City, America's largest city, the cradle of capitalism that has always been, is facing a real crisis right now. They've got a 34-year-old, unproven, untested socialist who looks to be the next mayor. He may well be elected. Mamdani winning New York City would be the biggest win for the Marxists, the socialists, in the history of this country. We have, to this point, in nearly 250 years, been able to hold off those kinds of ideas. We've been able to cling to the foundational principles of America, the ideas of individual freedom and limited government and the rule of law and peace through strength and fiscal responsibility and free markets and human dignity. All those things are in jeopardy when the Marxists take over. And it's the clearest sign yet that the Democrats' radical Marxist wing is winning the battle for control of their party. Look at where the energy is. This should be alarming to everyone around the country. Mamdani has, of course, called to defund the police, to abolish all prisons, to legalize prostitution. He lambasted the New York PD, the New York Police Department, as a racist system. And you might have seen, if you in the media are covering this, but there was a new video uncovered from 2023, just 2 years ago, and he said, quote, "We have to be clear, when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. Look, it's a unique talent to merge one's loathing for American law enforcement with their loathing for the Jewish people."
That's diabolical. Like you are some kind of evil minion of Satan to try to blend those two things completely unrelated together. I grew up in New York City before Rudy Giuliani, under that horrible mayor, Mayor Dinkins, and Mayor Koch. When New York was so bad, I mean, there's no reason why, as an 8-year-old, I should have been familiar with what crack looks like, collecting crack vials, seeing broken crack pipes on the way to school, seeing so many of my classmates' parents strung out on crack. That was very real to me because New York City had gotten that bad. And then I knew what it was like to experience Mayor Giuliani's New York City. And I was too young to understand it and didn't realize Giuliani was a Republican. I just knew there was something different about his regime. And he made the city safer and he cleaned it up and made it a beacon of shining light. And then he stood and exemplified resilience and strength during 9/11. I mean, it was just, he was the people's mayor. And so Speaker Johnson recounts the implications of this 30-day shutdown, and not just the right now, if we can just get past this little hump and they vote yes, but the forward-looking implications and the trajectory and the direction that the Democrat Party is going. My question to the EBT queens and the Boule blacks, is this what you want? These people playing in your face like this? How long are you going to believe the lie that these people are for you and that the other side is just so bad because the orange man? Yet the orange man is the only one doing actively providing you with solutions to make your life better, i.e., close up this daggone border. Get these illegals out. They're suppressing wages. They're wreaking havoc on our cities. The crime is atrocious. I'm going to come into the cities and do what these Democrats won't do, which is keep law and order. It boggles my mind to see Black Democrats who are suffering and experience direct pain from the shutdown, but fail to connect the dots to be like the very party that has me in a chokehold and that I celebrate and vote for has bewitched me. I know people who will sit and listen to Jasmine Crockett and be like, she telling the truth. And you're like, well, what is she saying that is true? How is she fighting for you? And they can't even articulate it. And then they'll go and in the reverse and be like, because, he just such a horrible person. You're like, okay, well, tell me what policy from Donald Trump is horrible and impacts you in a negative way. And they can never articulate it. This is how you know that there's a spiritual blindness that is gripping the minds of so many people because they can't even think straight. They can't even, through the power of the Holy Spirit, these so-called Christians cannot well up enough wherewithal within themselves to say, let me put my hatred, even though you ain't supposed to hate, let me put my hatred for Donald Trump on the shelf long enough to see clearly what's going on. They can't even do that. They are blinded. And it's almost like the God of this world has blinded their eyes so that they cannot see. But praise be to God, He has given me a platform so that I can use, not to turn you in to some Trump-loving Republican, but to make you realize that we talk about slavery and we opine about slavery, but you're still choosing slavery because you're a slave right now. Why? Because they done turned the spigot off and there ain't nothing you can do but wait for master to have it in his heart to go vote so that you can get your EBT and your WIC and your Head Start and that the government employees can get paid. Where's the lie? Don't tell me slavery is not a choice. You choose it every single day. And I don't even feel bad. Because at what point do you take ownership of this foolishness and say, we've gone through this long enough. I am choosing my own slavery by voting for these people and not holding them accountable for playing in my face and toying with my life like this. So yeah, you're going to have to get political because at this point, your livelihood is attached to it. So you can try to say, well, I try to just stay above the fray. Okay, that's fine. You still going to have to make a choice. You're still going to have to make a choice.
But this guy's, he's managed to do it. New York is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not isolated to America's largest city. It's other cities as well. Look at Seattle, where the leading candidate for mayor is an open socialist. Look at Minneapolis, where the sitting socialist mayor is facing a challenge from his left flank. And look here in Congress, where we have our own wing of Marxist acolytes serving here. Amazingly, the media is criticizing Republicans for fixating on Mondani. I read some of that yesterday. This socialist uprising is something that we have a responsibility to call out and sound the alarms. That's what elected representatives of the people are supposed to do, and we take that responsibility seriously. And obviously, Mamdani is a big issue here in the halls of Congress. Why? Because the second highest ranked Democrat in the country, Leader Jeffries, endorsed him. They're making Mamdani a mainstream Democrat now, and this party has left the people. Of course, the press wants us to ignore Mamdani. Here,
You know what I thought about? If Hakeem Jeffries had a spine and if he was a masculine man, he would go and strategize, and in an attempt to subvert the left-wing lunatics of his party, he would go to see just how many people that he could persuade to say, listen, we know that they're real popular right now with all their talking points, but you know this is not the direction. We cannot be a party of socialists. Are you with me? They coming for your seat. They're trying to primary you. They're trying to primary me. Are we gonna let them do that? Or are we going to take an authoritative position and shut this mess down and say the Democrat Party don't have no place for this? But you know why? They're all compromised. You know why they can't do that? Jasmine Crockett takes Soros money. AOC takes Soros money. Zohran Mamdani takes Soros money. The Pritzkers, the Disneys, George Soros, all of those freak nasty Diddycrats are the Democrat Party's handlers. So there are too many Democrats who are like, you know, Hakeem, I hear you. Now that's a make-believe conversation. He's too weak to have that conversation. But these Democrats, the ones who have handlers, are like, I hear you, homie, but my bread is buttered by these people, and if I do that, I'm gonna lose my seat. This is I am hoping that this whole thing backfires and that the Democrats will never gain a foothold of power ever again, because they blew it. They're all so compromised by the money that the desire to serve the people has all but lost. And say what you want about the neurologically impaired John Fetterman. I respect John. You know why? Because he'll at least have some common sense and think for himself and be like, you know what? This is just wrong. This is just wrong. The American people don't deserve this. He knows that it's the far left lunatics of his party that's doing this, and he's the only one with some principles and willing to stand alone. That's a principled person. I can respect him. Even though we ideologically disagree, he has got some common sense. So I'm going to let Speaker Johnson finish, and then we're going to hear from John Fetterman to see what he has to say about all of this.
here it's an embarrassment because most of the press is on the side of the Democrats. They don't want us to talk about that, but we have to. Because by endorsing Mamdani, Hakeem Jeffries has endorsed and co-owned his positions, his past statements, his Marxist playbook, and everything else that guy espouses. And so too does every single House Democrat who will be inviting their leader, Jeffries, to their campaigns and to their districts next year. Every single one of them at every campaign stop should be asked, what do you think about Mamdani? What do you think about his positions? While House Democrats court Marxists in New York, Senate Democrats have chosen to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan CR. It's the first time in the history of this country, that any party has done that, has had the audacity to shut the government down over a totally clean, nonpartisan funding measure.
I'm going to take it a step further, John. I'm sorry. Mike, why I call you John? I was thinking John Fetterman. Speaker Johnson, I'm going to take it a step further. It is the first time in history that they've done that. But the deeper issue here is that these Democrats, we've been invaded. They are allowing, by proxy, illegal immigrants to shut down the government at the expense of the American people, because it's the illegal component that's causing them. They're the ones steering this ship. Are y'all thinking about that? It is the illegal immigrant who came here unlawfully that have taken residence, they've got these Democrats in such a chokehold that Democrats are keeping the government shut down until their new constituents, the one that's really running the show, get what they want, which is health care, subsidies, give me my money. The nerve of these Democrats and the nerve of the Democrat voter to be such a, how are you this weak? How are you? You know what? I'm gonna tell you, I can't speak for the white liberal. I don't know their plight, their story, and why they exist. I'm gonna talk about the black liberal. The reason why the black liberal is able to let this happen and they don't do it, at a summit last week up in Pennsylvania, Seeds and Roots, wonderful summit. And I got some pushback because I made a very controversial statement that I really didn't get to fully defend and flesh out. So we're going to do it tonight. And it's relevant to this discussion. I've gone on record and I have said that the African slave, i.e. the Black American, who would now be considered descendants of the African slave here in America, we were the only, for the most part, people group in history that we did not overwhelmingly, hear me clearly, I don't want to be lazy in language, and I don't want you misrepresenting what I'm saying. So don't hear what you think I heard. Hear what I'm actually saying, because I'm going to be real clear. We are the only people group that did not overwhelmingly en masse as a group participate and fight for our own emancipation, our freedom, even though our rights come from God and we were born free, in terms of us being enslaved, property of another image bearer, it was done without our active participation, without our active our participation, our permission, without our permission, and without our knowledge. What do I mean? Yeah, you had Frederick Douglasses of the world. You had your Harriet Tubmans of the world. You had your Nat Turners. But where was the uprising, the slave uprising, like the Haitians, to where they're like, oh, we're not going to be a slave no more. We're going to kill and slay all of y'all, and we're going to revolt because this is our freedom. We're fighting for it. Yes, you had individuals who were Black, many freedmen who fought for the Union Army. But how do you explain? This makes me so mad when I think about it. Not mad in the sense that I harbor unforgiveness in my heart, but angry that this is our history that I have to grapple with. How do you explain whole slave plantations where the master, overseers, everybody's gone to fight in a war? Who you think is left? Whole plantations that are left in the hands of the mistress, the women, and ain't nothing but slaves left on a plantation. Explain to me how those plantations just managed to keep on going, and there were no widespread slave revolts to where slaves en masse were like, we taking our freedom. Where did that happen? Abraham Lincoln has gone on record and said in a speech that they couldn't incite a slave revolt on these plantations, even if they tried. You want to know why? They were like, listen, you would think that some of these slaves in the middle of the night would go and kill the master and kill the overseer and kill everybody. They loved their master. They would die. They would kill for their master. We know that to be a fact. It was a bona fide fact that you had slaves who dug the ditches and the ramparts for the Confederate Army. Booker T. Washington gives an account of how the slaves on his plantation, the Burroughs' plantation, would go and hide the master's valuables in the forest so that when the Union Army came down, that massive stuff would be safe. You had Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed. I freed thousands of slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if they only knew they were slaves. I don't want to hear the victimization of how they gonna do this to us. You choose your slavery just like your ancestors were choosing it then. Because instead of them saying, I'll choose death before I be a slave, you got every excuse in the world. It's too hard. They might catch us. If we run, they might cut off my foot. Okay. It's the price you pay for your freedom. No different than the price you got to pay for your freedom today. They gonna call you Uncle Tom if you leave the Democrat Party. They gonna call you a bootlicker coon. So names got you shook to where you'd rather vote and support your enslavers than to be free and deal with the repercussions. Didn't nobody say it was gonna be easy. You think it's easy as a Black woman born in the Bronx to actively come out as a conservative based by my Christian conviction? You think it's easy? You think my family has it easy? All of the death threats and the names that I get called because I choose to function in my freedom and say, no, I'm good. I don't want nothing from the government. I don't want nothing from you darn freak nasty Democrats. I want you to get the heck out of my way and remove the artificial weights, i.e. this government shutdown is just one example of the myriad of ways that these Democrats want to keep you dependent, keep you controlled, tax you into oblivion, keep your kids in failing schools. You have Black Democrats that say or have convinced themselves that school choice is bad because, well, if I choose school choice for my kid, what about all the other kids? What about all the other kids? So you're going to let your child receive an academically inferior education because you're worried about somebody else's kids? Have you not been given the responsibility to shepherd and raise and train your own child? To where you got these Democrats got you thinking it is virtuous to keep your kid in a failing school because all the other parents ain't got the sense enough to pull their kids out. Make that make sense. Do not tell me slavery is not a choice. I got pushback for the statements that I made because we don't want to deal with the truth that makes us feel some sort of kind of way knowing that our ancestors, they could have fled. They could have organized a whole slave revolt and slew everybody on that plantation. But freedom of the unknown was so much more easier than the possibility of running away and actually making it to freedom. Don't tell me slavery is not a choice. Because if it wasn't a choice, how is it that Frederick Douglass made the choice and fought his master and whooped his behind until he cried uncle? Frederick Douglass just didn't wake up one day and be like, you know what? Master, I think I'm about to leave the plantation because I want to be free. And his master didn't be like, okay, Frederick, I think, you've lived here all your life. I think we'll just let you go. No, he fought him. And he looked that man in the eye. I'm not going to be your slave no more. So you're going to have to kill me because somebody got to die and it's not going to be me today. Why is it that Harriet Tubman, a woman, had more courage than so many? Why is it that there were 3 times more Black men in South Carolina than white men? Remember, all these white boys, whoever didn't have one leg, no eye, and no arm was too jacked up from the war to do anything. And you had 3 times more Black men in South Carolina. And yet, they chose to stay on the plantation. Explain that to me. You got whole plantations that are unmanned. Why am I bringing this up? Because it matters. Because it doesn't feel good to know, okay, this is our history. We don't like it, but which one of us are going to be the ones to do something different? Grapple with the fact It may not have been your family. Maybe it's your neighbor, your black neighbor across the street, because your family fought for freedom. Fine. However, you got to rationalize it in your mind to make yourself feel better. We'll move it aside from you. Your neighbor didn't fight. What's stopping you from fighting today? Because this government shutdown is ridiculous at this point. I've gone into the Democrat history. I've done it. I've gone into their history. I've told you who these people are. I've debunked so many lies about the big switch and all of that. These people have you in a chokehold, and they've had you in a chokehold for a really long time. And people are finally waking up. But as some of y'all choose your slavery and then believe the lie that it's the Republicans that are doing this to you, and that is just not true. Over in the Senate, that is where this circus begins. Somehow, I don't know, that the word clean, the clean CR, terrifies Democrats. They love to steal. They love stealing your money. They love stealing and spending your money. They can't stand the thought of a bill that doesn't include a few $1 billion for their favorite causes or their donor class. But they want to talk to you about the oligarchy and rich white Republicans. Which of the rich white Republicans are benefiting because the government is shut down and people can't get their EBT, WIC, and all the other things that they're supposed to get? It's Democrats that are suffering. These jokers want an additional $1.5 trillion when we are just trying to stay afloat. Our budget, we can't do anymore. It is unsustainable. This is why I'm convinced these Democrats are doing this on purpose. They want the economy to crash so they can usher in their socialistic Marxist agenda. But the Republicans, they have shown up. They have shown up every single time as it relates to this CR bill. 15 votes. I thought it was 13. Brother Johnson just broke it down. 15 votes. I've seen Democrats flat out lie, talking about, well, we're ready to vote, but the Republicans are not here. No, they're not. They're not ready to vote. They are not ready to vote. They're wanting to vote, but not for the CR bill as it is. Every Republican senator has voted yes. The whole goal is let's move this bill forward. Only 3 Democrats, John Fetterman, Catherine, I can't remember her name, and then the independent from Maine, Angus King. They're the only ones that have had the spine to cross over and vote yes. Now, as it relates, there have been multiple rounds of voting. If I'm not mistaken, Fetterman is the only one that's still like, listen, let's do the right thing. That's it. 3 out of 51. This is why, Democrats, this is why the government is still shut down. This is why. John Thune, he has called this vote 15 times. Each time, Democrats block it because I've told you the Senate needs 60 votes to pass anything under the current rules. Republicans already have the majority of votes. This is true, Jasmine Crockett. We are the ones in charge, but they can't get past the Democrat blockade. That is the problem. That's the part that she won't get on CNN and say. So let me explain it to you. I don't know if you guys knew this. The last time the United States Congress passed all of the regular appropriation bills by the start of the fiscal year, which is October 1st, y'all, when I tell y'all, just guess what year it was. The last time that they passed the normal one, it was 1997. Y'all, I graduated high school in 1997. That was 28 friggin' years ago. And we have not done it ever since in the way that it's supposed to work. We got to play these stupid games and continue to win stupid prizes because the budget process, it is supposed to see 12, sometimes 13 spending bills passed before October 1st, just so the government doesn't have to halt. But because Congress failed to do that, since 1997, we keep doing this continuing resolutions thing. Instead of the stopgap funding extensions, which is what the CR is. We keep doing that instead of just passing a real budget. If we just had a real budget that was balanced and that wasn't, we always fighting over stupid stuff, we wouldn't be in this situation. But the idea of a full on-time budget is essentially, it's a theory at this point. Why? Because we haven't done it as it is intended to work in nearly 3 decades. That's a long time. 1997. So when you say that, well, the system is just broken, you can point to this historical fact. We have not had a proper full budget on time in 28 years, and yet we wonder why the shutdowns happen. The shutdowns happen because the process is dysfunctional, because you got a bunch of derelict, dysfunctional people in Congress. And it's the reason why that Congress doesn't follow on its own rule book anymore. I hope y'all realize this is a siege. This is absolutely a siege. Because how long are Democrats willing to let their constituents suffer? I told you MAGA is fine. It's the people who've been dependent on the government who are not. And the Republicans are the ones saying, we want to fund your entitlements. We don't agree with excessive entitlements, but at least get your EBT, your WIC, your child, your Head Start, and let's pay these government employees. It's the people that's dependent on this stuff. They're the ones who are going to suffer. So let's hear from John Fetterman. I'm starting to like John. I mean, I have a level of respect for him as a politician because, I wish he didn't wear the hoodie. I really do. But I can get with the facts. I can get with the fact that he's got some principle. And he actually cares about the people that he represents. And he knows that this is going to harm the people he represents. So as a senator, he's like, I'm not trying to do this. So let's hear from him.
They're bowing to the demands of their far-left base. And no one can deny that. The facts are very clear. The American people are intelligent. They understand what's happening.
Kaylee, I need you to be quiet.
We pray that the Democrats, at least a handful of centrists, if there are any moderates left in the Democrat Party in the Senate, we pray that they will come to their senses.
I did not tell you to speak. I did not, John. We not talking to you right now. Let's get Kaylee back. There we go. All right.
Furloughed workers and Senator John Fetterman. The headline in the New York Times was Democrats block federal worker pay bill as shutdown drags on. The vote to pay military and essential workers broke down like this: 54 yes, 45 no. Just 3 Democrats joined Republicans in voting to pay furloughed workers. And Senator John Fetterman was quick to point out, I'm a Democrat, I voted yes. Senator Fetterman has been one of the clearest voices in calling for an end to the shutdown, analogizing the situation to Groundhog Day.
Are you surprised that vote after vote, it's just been 3 Democrats time and again who voted for this bill? Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day, and I'm just saying, and it's not entertaining. That's a great movie, but this is
Senator Fetterman joins me now. Senator, an honor to have you. That clip was from Tuesday, and you said you weren't surprised by the continual votes by your party to not reopen the government. But were you surprised when the vote came on Thursday to pay military, to pay furloughed workers, and you were just one of 3 Democrats saying, let's pay these essential workers?
I mean, I'm not surprised when I do believe that there's a critical mass of my fellow Democrats that are dug in, and until there's an absolute ironclad kind of a deal, and I do fundamentally believe Leader Thune is an honorable guy, and I do believe we could have a sincere conversation, after we can open it up, and then we don't have to do this 3-card Monty about do this, do that, do the other thing. Let's just open it up, and then we have our snap. We have everyone's paid, and then we can have that conversation to see if we can extend those tax credit deals, because I do believe there are enough Republicans that would like to see that too. And now for me, I don't check. It's like, are we winning? Are we losing? And the thing, it's like, because I guarantee America is losing in this place right now.
No doubt America's losing in this.
Notice how he said, I'm not checking to see who's winning or who's losing, but he emphatically said that it's the American people who are losing. I think Democrats have forgotten that your role as a politician, you are a public servant and you represent people. And John Fetterman's statement here is very telling because he is saying it's not about winning or losing. It is about, are we doing what's right for the people who sent us here to represent them, or is this a pissing match? Well, Democrats, because they are obsessed with power, they are utilizing these political positions. They hold office not to represent people, but to enrich themselves. It is about power. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so I think it's sad that at the 15th time to vote, you've only had 3. So basically what John is saying is that they were trying to separate and say, okay, with the CR, let's at minimum at least vote to pay the essential workers so we can pound out the details on all the other stuff. Only 3 Democrats still came to the table and was like, okay, we can do that. We can do that. This is ridiculous.
Senator, and I wonder, you're in the halls of Congress. You are in some of these meetings with fellow Democrats, and do you hear privately some of your Democratic colleagues saying, we got to end this thing?
Well, I mean, I just know that 2 things must be true in this situation right now. SNAP depends on 2 million Pennsylvanians to feed themselves, and I believe it's about 40 million Americans across the nation. That's a big deal right now. And now we all realize that a lot of the premiums are going to go up, and we might want to address that too. We can support those 2 things, but I think it's fundamentally wrong regardless to shut our government down for those things. The Republican side has their priorities. We have our priorities. I think we have to agree that our government must be open.
And you think it's time for Republicans to nuke the filibuster and end this thing?
I mean, I think I've broached that before. I think it's entirely appropriate. And I would remind, all of us, the Democrats, we wanted to nuke the entire filibuster. I'm referring to right now carving out this specific right now. I'm not talking about eliminating the entire filibuster. It's really not much different than about the en blanc kind of nominees. And I think that was appropriate to do that in that situation as well, too. And carving it out the filibuster now would make it almost impossible to shut our government down in the future, regardless if it's the Democrats or the Republicans doing these things. We should remove our power to shut this down in this way.
Senator Fetterman, I want to talk to you about the ideological way forward for the Democratic Party, because we've seen this rise of democratic socialism and progressivism. And, I'm wondering, what do you think the ideological path is for your party?
Good question.
Well, really the party's going to go its own way, but I've been going my way. I'm going to fight for wins in Pennsylvania, and there's issues that I will agree and align with on the Republican side, specifically like Israel, and I celebrated those great peace deal. And I also really very strong that we have to secure our border, and I was the co-sponsor of the Lakin bill as well. And right now, I'm in a minority that I think it's wrong to shut our government down in this situation right now. And now, so for me, and there's things that I strongly believe in too on the Democratic side, but I'm always going to vote country over party. I'm always going to vote for paying for the military over my party and those things, because I think that's what's appropriate right now. The direction where my party's going, I mean, won't see, but I can control my vote and my voice, and that's exactly where I am. And I'm going to call balls and strikes. And it's an easy choice to pick my country over the party, especially in circumstances like this.
Wow. Y'all. That was pretty powerful. I can't believe that I'm giving a Democrat credit, but this is just what common sense sounds like. John Fetterman is exemplifying character of someone who understands what it means to be an American, how we can have these partisan issues that divide us. However, at the end of the day, we are friggin' Americans. And that he says, I'm always going to vote what is best for the country over the party. I'm going to choose what's best for the country. And you got these brain dead black preachers out here who are actually, they're so compromised and they are so apostate. Matter of fact, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about one of the brain dead preachers today. I wanted to finish wrapping up what I wanted to say about this government shutdown, but some of these brain dead preachers are so, their hearts are so hardened and they're so spiritually blind that they would actually advocate for the things that the Lord hates simply because it is Democrats who are pushing such an agenda. It's unbelievable. We'll talk about that a little later. But what I want to do is kind of just bring this home to help you guys understand that, you know, when you hear CNN or MSNBC say that the Republicans caused the shutdown, you can just go ahead and roll your eyes because now you see the receipts tell a drastically different story. The House passed it. The Republicans voted for it. The Senate Democrats killed it. And do you know why they're doing it? It's because this is not about governance. It's all about control. It is about keeping that government spigot wide open of your money so that they can keep buying votes, funding their chaos, and then pretending that this is compassionate about healthcare and that people are going to die. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, all of them are a bunch of abject liars who've got more money than they know what to do with, but they want you to think that they're the party of compassion. Let me remind you that our government is at a crossroads because of all of the excessive spending. And the biblical admonition that we learn in the book of Proverbs is that the borrower is always a slave to the lender. Democrats want you enslaved to the lender, and the lender just happens to be them. They are not fighting for you. They are hurting their own people in favor of illegals. I will not apologize for that. They have essentially, y'all, if y'all think about it, the Democrats have themselves another mistress. They are a new side chick. And the black folks, the new mistress is not you. You the old chick. They are literally driving your car to pick up some other broad to take her to dinner with your money. And then dare you, when you say something about it, like, wait a minute, I thought we were going to dinner. Nah, baby, no. No, we not going to dinner. I'm going to take her out. I'm going to take her. You know I love you. You know I love you, boo. That's what they're doing to you. And you sitting at home like, well, you know, he do love me. He said he loved me. You know, I'm just going to act like I don't see what I see. The Republicans have voted 13 times to give you your SNAP, and the Democrats refuse to vote. And the media is gaslighting you when the Republicans have already voted. I can't drive that point home enough. The Republicans have already voted. There's nothing else they need to do. They are fighting to preserve the empire of dependency they have built. The Democrats are. Having fiscal restraint, if you are a Christian, that should be a biblical principle that you can get behind. Wasteful spending is not compassion. It is a form of corruption with a little smiley face on it. And the end is it's not good for anybody. So the next time someone says to you, the Republicans shut the government down and Donald Trump is bad, you could just tell them, no, sweetheart, you really don't know what you're talking about. It was the Senate Democrats who locked the doors. This is not a shutdown. It's a showdown. And it's a showdown between responsibility and recklessness. And the American people are the ones who are caught in the crossfire. It is a sad day in America. Tomorrow's the 31st and November 1st is Saturday. November 1st is Saturday. And you need to remember, we got the midterms coming up. You need to remember every single Senate Democrat and be like, you can't represent us no more because y'all play too much. Y'all play too much, and we have given you too much power. We need to educate people on what's really happening here. And so I hope, I've been live, wow, an hour and 30 minutes. It took me that long to kind of get through this. But it was necessary. I go off on some tangents from time to time, but it was necessary. What I want to do now is let me get to some of these super chats. I appreciate you guys. This platform is supported by you, the viewer. I have, at this point, no huge sponsors. I don't have Israel giving me $7,000 for every video that I make. That's not what this is. This is my platform. My voice is unleashed, and it is not beholden to any political party. I am an independent thinker, and I think for myself, and I say what I want to say. So when you have people that levy that criticism toward conservatives like me, it's because that's how they're used to operating. They are puppets and pawns who can be bought like a cheap hoe for the right price. We don't do that here over Unshakable with April Chapman. You can have no idea how many people want to come and get access to this platform to get me to say stuff. And I'm like, you must don't watch my show. If you thought that you really thought that no. It's just not me. I don't have it in me. I don't. And so therefore, let's get to some super chats. We have Shayla. The beautiful Shayla Moon. She says, keep siphoning those voters. Absolutely, Miss Shayla. My goal during the 2024 election was I wanted to weaken the Democrat Party so much that I wanted them to be on their knees begging for mercy and screaming uncle. And I worked so hard using this platform to educate people. What I did, I spent a considerable amount of time going through Democrat history, correcting a lot of the misinformation and the lies. See, the Democrat Party, they like to hide from their history. They don't tell you that it's the Republican Party that authored all of the early civil rights legislation. They don't tell you that the Democrat Party is the party of slavery and Jim Crow, and they don't like talking about their history. So I did it for them. And I woke up a lot of people, and by God's grace, he gave me the boldness and the fearlessness to do it and not worry about the backlash. Oh, it's a whole lot of black folks. The blacks out there, they don't like me. No. I get called all kinds of names, sellout, and I'm like, yeah, but you over here voting for your own slavery, and you spend all your time mad at white people and worried about what white people are doing. When I'm over here educating all kinds of people, particularly the ones that look like me, on how they can function in their freedom, and they don't need to be a slave to nobody. So who's the coon? Because it ain't me. But thank you, Shayla, for your super chat tonight. I'm so grateful for it. I really appreciate it. Brother Robert, thank you so much for the super chat. Keep up the great content. Peace and blessings. Thank you so much for your contribution tonight. I will, by God's grace, as he enables me, as long as I don't get laryngitis or something, or get like deathly ill, I will. Hey, Brother Albino says, I know you know Pastor Steve Smotherman here in Albuquerque at Legacy Church. April, when will you call him and come here where we need your word? To be honest, Albino, I haven't a clue who Pastor Steve Smotherman is. Can you have Pastor Steve email me? One of my moderators, y'all, I'm not hard to find. I'm really not. My website, Unshakable with April Chapman. No, the website is unshakeablewithapril.com. Email april@unshakeablewithapril.com. Now, if you try to reach out doing, via the DMs, yes, it's like Fort Knox trying to get up and through, because I don't really check those a lot. I just don't trust people try to hack, I don't want to be hacked. I don't want my social media platforms compromised. So I really I don't do business in the DM. I know that is the customary way to do business. I don't. You can go to my website, you can send me an email, you can send a stool pigeon. That's how you can get in contact with me. But Pastor Steve, I am not familiar with who he is in Albuquerque, New Mexico. However, I'd love to get to know him and to see how I can be of use to, the people there in Albuquerque. I do travel as long as my schedule allows. After my husband has, signed off and, said yes or no, then I just go. Here I am, Lord, send me, kind of like the prophet. Hi, the outlaw shriek. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you as well. I wanna pivot a little bit, and I told y'all I was gonna help you guys, no, I said that I was gonna talk about a brain dead pastor who I discovered. So what happened? I was on X and I saw a screenshot of a tweet from a pastor, if I'm not mistaken, in the Texas area. And when I went to go search for the pastor to get the tweet myself, I said, well, look at this. I am blocked. I cannot find this public profile anywhere. And I thought it was so interesting. So that means for you to block me and we've not engaged, I must have hurt. I must have hit you pretty hard for you to block little old me. I don't even have that many followers on X like that. I tweet. I really retweet more than I tweet. So through the grapevine, he must have found out who I was and chose to block me. But my friend sent me your tweet, Pastor McKissick. So we got to deal with the unbiblical and outright diabolical things that you said as it relates to the topic of abortion. I don't even know what to do with this. I thought it was so diabolical. But I'm going to share this tweet, and we got to talk about this because this is problematic, and it's endemic to the ideological slavery that so many Black Americans find themselves in a chokehold because they are following wolves and shepherds whose job is to shepherd the flock of God and to teach what accords in sound doctrine, but instead you get foolishness like this. So let's look at this tweet, you guys. It says, God can hit a straight lick with a crooked stick. The Democrats have actually reduced abortions more so than Republicans. I'm going to explain what he means by that. He had the nerve to invoke the sovereignty of God here. He goes, in the sovereignty of God, he is revealing to us his ways are above our ways. Democracy, or Democrats is what he meant to say, who are pro-life, which, what an oxymoron. How you a Democrat and you pro-life? I'd love to hear you exegete that statement, Pastor McKissick. Democrats who are pro-life understand that voting for Donald Trump was not going to save one baby. Abortions have decreased when Democrats were in office and increased when Republican presidents were/are in office. God is demonstrating to us he is concerned about the whole of life, not just pro-birth, but all aspects of life. God moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. This was written by a so-called preacher of the word who somehow philosophically surmised that because Roe v. Wade was overturned, which was bad law, President Trump didn't overturn it, but the Supreme Court did. because it's unconstitutional. Here's his argument. Let me try to make sense of the demonic wrongiousness that he is spewing here. Here's his argument. Before Roe v. Wade, we had X number, before Roe v. Wade was overturned, we had X number of abortions. Then Roe v. Wade is overturned by the Supreme Court because it's bad law. And now after that, abortions have gone up. That is a fact. Now, instead of a pastor biblically parsing this out through the Word of God to explain the depravity of man, to explain the responsibility of the Christian, to advocate for our preborn neighbors and not to be a party to wickedness, instead, he somehow philosophically explains that, being a Democrat and voting for Democrat policy would have saved more babies because since Roe v. Wade is overturned, more babies ended up dying. Here's what he's not telling you. He is not telling you that the Democrats who want to delete babies in the womb by any means necessary up until the 9th month, Roe v. Wade being overturned was not, for him to think that that was going to stop abortion. I don't know why he would think that. What that piece of legislation did was say, we're not going to federalize this. This is a state issue, and each individual state needs to decide how they're going to handle this issue. But along with that, we have the fact that now mail order abortions are on the rise, meaning mothers, because these women, the moment of conception, you are somebody's mama. Mothers are ordering these pills, and these pills, without being under doctor supervision, are being shipped via the U.S. mail system, and now women are able to get access to these pills that are not without side effects and issues and problems that have caused women great harm, but they're able to access it this way because it's over state lines. So you might live in a state that says we don't do abortions past 6 weeks, or we don't do abortions past this, or we don't do abortions at all. Women are using the mail system and getting access to the pharmaceutical version of abortion versus a surgical medical abortion. Here's the problem with his reasoning. He is so addicted to the D that he doesn't even see how he is sinfully advocating for people to side with the Democrat Party, and he has somehow rationalized that his choice is righteous because when Democrats were in office, less babies were dying without giving you the explanation as to why. And instead of him advocating for the lives of those preborn neighbors, saying, listen, not only do we need to go further to make sure, because it's righteous to do so, he is rationalized in his mind, because he's a Democrat, of course, that God works in mysterious ways without realizing and neglecting to tell his people that you're still going to be responsible. You are still going to be responsible, and blood is still on your hands because you keep siding with a party that keeps telling you that one of their main policy objectives is to slaughter babies in the womb. And he has turned this into a righteous thing. Diabolical. That's a wolf. That is a person that is not interested in shepherding the flock of God with any sort of biblical integrity, because he has figured out a way to justify, when the Democrats were in office, less babies were dying, so we must be on the side of righteousness. And God has I'm trying to even understand by saying, this proves that God is demonstrating to us that he's concerned about the whole of life, not just pro-birth, but all aspects. What does that have to do with anything? Because and I believe that to be true, but why aren't you telling your people that? I've never heard you advocate for the lives of the unborn in the womb. How can you when you encourage your people to support the Democrat Party? How much? Pastor McKissick? Did you do souls for the polls? A bottle of liquor and a pork chop sandwich? You hate Donald Trump that much that you would lead your people to believe that there's, first of all, a such thing as being a Democrat who's pro-life. You're not a Democrat then. If you're pro-life, you're not a Democrat. Or if you're a Democrat and you're pro-life and you vote for Democrats, then you're not pro-life. You're not. Because I'm sure you were Team Kamala. She made it very clear that she doesn't support the idea of preserving life in the womb. In fact, it's the opposite. How are you Democrat? Second, what made you tweet this? Like, what in your heart, as you were typing this out, thought that this was wise for a shepherd to say such words and to leave room for the possibility that you can somehow reconcile voting for the Democrat Party and your Christian faith at the same time? And then invoke the sovereignty of God. Oh, you will be held accountable for this foolishness. This is ridiculous. Here's the truth. I'm going to show you another tweet. And this is the part y'all not going to like. This part is going to be difficult for even Christians to wrap their mind around. And this is from someone who, by God's grace and the redemption that was offered to me in the person and work of Jesus, who is guilty of the sin of abortion. Hear me clearly. We're going to read the first part of this tweet, which says, in the 2 years since the Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade, the total number of abortions nationally has increased slightly. And I've already given an explanation for that. It's because of the mail order abortion, which the Democrat Party is now actively lobbying to make sure that providers are not held accountable from the backlash and the implications and the dangers that this not the birth control pill, but the abortion pill causes. There are laws called, what is it called? I argued for this when I was on PBS's To the Contrary show, SHIELD laws. When I was on PBS, there were women on there actively advocating for SHIELD laws to protect providers, not women. I thought we were supposed to protect women. It was all about women's rights. They want to actively support the SHIELD laws, which protect the provider. Now, you tell me, what kind of drug needs protection and shielding from liability unless it is not without significant risk that they are aware of? They know the risk, the hemorrhaging. They know the risk, the uterine rupture. All kinds of issues are happening with these drugs because these women are taking these pills, oftentimes alone, in a bathroom, by themselves, passing the remains of their babies. And due to complications, things are happening. Why would you want SHIELD laws for the providers, the medical professionals, not to protect the women, but to protect the doctors? If the mechanism of action was so safe, why do you have legislation being introduced to protect the provider? Can someone answer and explain that to me? They probably cannot. But anyway, according to the Society for Family Planning's #WeCount project, there were 1.1 million abortions in 2024, up from 1.05 million abortions in 2023. Look at the statement that someone commented on Josiah Hawthorne's tweet. Daniel says, until mothers face penalties for killing their children, we can't really expect to put a dent in abortion. That is not a popular opinion. And as someone that is guilty of the sin of abortion, when I first heard that, the first thing I thought about was, well, dang, that's a little harsh. But then I was reminded of God's law. And I was reminded of my sin that was offensive to a righteous and holy God. And according to his law, I was supposed to, when you unjustly delete the life of an innocent image bearer, according to the Old Testament law, your penalty is supposed to be your death. I deserve death, but God gave me mercy. Here is the point. If women knew that we would face some kind of penalty for hiring a medical hitman to snuff out the lives of our own unborn children in the womb, I can guarantee you so many of us be like, well, wait a minute now. Let me think twice about this. Let me think twice about some of the choices and the decisions that I made to get me into this situation. And let me think twice, because if I have to face a penalty for doing this, maybe it makes it real what I'm about to do. It makes it real that it is not a clump of cells. If we applied the same judicial penalty to the fact that Lacey Peterson's baby in the womb, Scott Peterson was found guilty not just of killing Lacey, but baby Connor too, it's because these people know that the life in the womb is an actual human life. They know it is viable, and it is a life. If so many pre-abortive women understood that there are penalties for what you are about to do, so many of us would make different choices. Here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying you need to go back and find every woman that has ever done that and give us all the death penalty. You need to be grateful that by God's grace, he let you slide. If you are in Christ and you've repented of your sin, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. But please believe our sin was offensive to a righteous and holy God, and the wages of sin demand death. So until mothers face penalties for killing their children, we can't expect to put a dent in abortion. I know that's not a popular view. I know a lot of Christians who are like, I don't know if I really want to go that far. You know why? You know why many of us, and I'm saying us Christians, don't want to go that far? Because we know our secret hidden sin. And we're like, I'd have to include myself in that number. And I want to be spared too. Well, so does the baby. I know I wanted to be spared. I don't want to have to face a penalty for killing a baby. So if I don't want that, then it should make me think twice. Be like, wait a minute, what I am doing is killing a baby. I'm just trying to help you see the sinfulness of sin and the weight of God's law, and how it should make you think, if we were really interested in protecting these unborn babies in the womb, we would consider some sort of penalty. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not saying you go back and re-adjudicate ones in the past, but going forward, when the law is put in place, how is the job of the government, the role biblically? If you're not a Christian, what I'm saying sounds like crazy talk to you. This worldview is foreign to you if your worldview is not informed by the scriptures. So I understand it. I understand it if you're upset at me and you're like, you're going a tad bit too far. You're free to have that opinion. However, I am not obligated to concede the biblical position to your opinion, but rather I submit myself under what is written. And what is written is very clear. So here's what I am saying. Pastor McKissick, this is a dereliction of duty in this tweet to even imply that because Roe v. Wade being overturned has somehow caused there to be an uptick in baby deletions, that Democrats should feel justified in voting for Democrats because of that, as opposed to saying, no, our vote still was cast for the party that wants to murder the babies. And I don't get to take myself out of that equation and say, as if I'm not complicit in that decision. I don't understand how a pastor who has been theologically trained not only reasoned the way that he reasoned, but then to actually type it out and post it for the world to see. But it's okay. I didn't get to engage with you on X, Pastor McKissick, because you blocked me. And I don't even know when you blocked me, because you may have said something real crazy and unbiblical and stupid 3-4 years ago, and you probably didn't like what I said. So that could be why you blocked me. I don't know. But it just came to my attention yesterday that I was blocked. And I'm like, was it something I said? Did I say something? I don't know. Did the conviction of the Holy Spirit? I probably quoted scripture to you. That could have been what it was. And I remember. Oh, thank you, Holy Ghost. I remember why I got blocked. This is when I was way less spicy than I am now. This, you guys, was back in 2022 when I first started my channel. And it was during the SBC convention. And it was, I distinctly remember when you blocked me. It's the only thing that makes sense, because I never engaged with him outside of this one particular time. So during the SBC convention, this is when the SBC, the Southern Baptist Convention, was considering kicking Rick Warren out, because Rick don't want to submit to the scriptures. And they wanted to officially, on record, ordain women within the SBC in violation of 1 Timothy and Titus and the like. And I remember during the SBC convention, Pastor McKissick was one of the pastors that was debating Tom Askell on, does the Bible exegetically, in context, permit women to pastor and shepherd a church? And he was losing. He was losing real bad. And I think I sent some tweets that basically pointed out his inconsistent way in which he was handling the scripture. And I don't think he liked it. And I think that's when he blocked me. Because I can't think of any other thing I've ever said to him. I wasn't even on Twitter like that back then. That's the only thing that I can think of that caused him to block me. Or he may have seen some of my harsh criticism for these black pulpit preachers who are so compromised and apostate that they encourage their churches to vote for Democrats in violation of biblical admonition. So maybe that did it. I don't know. But whatever it was, it rubbed Pimpin the wrong way and he blocked me. But I still got the tweet. Now, I'm not going to say that had he not blocked me, I wouldn't have done a video. I can't make that promise. I don't know. But here he goes. Here's the video. Pastor McKissick, you need to repent, sir. Like, you know what the scriptures teach. But I am of the opinion that so many of these black pastors, instead of them shepherding their church and standing on the authority of scripture and teaching what the Bible teaches, they know that if they really taught what the Bible taught, that they would make so many of their parishioners angry that they would experience significant attrition. People would leave their church. So they compromise and they get real weaselly with words and try to figure out a way to hold on to the little bit of flock that they have. And in the process, they end up violating scripture. They end up sinning. They end up leading their church flock astray, with millstones around their neck, causing people to stumble, all because they just won't tell the truth. They have sided and chosen to be a mouthpiece for the Democrat Party as opposed to being a voice crying out in the wilderness, calling people to repentance. You got to pick a struggle, McKissick. You got to pick a struggle. So anyway, I wrap up, I want to get to some super chats, and then I want to get to some resources. Oh, okay, all right, okay. Pastor Steve was Charlie's friend. You've seen him. You're probably right, Albino. Okay, I'll do some digging. I probably have, if I didn't meet him at a TPUSA Faith event, we've probably seen each other in passing. I've been meeting a lot of people in the past 12 months. So if I don't remember, but if Albino, listen, shoot your girl an email. Let me know what you need, sir. Let me know. And we'll go from there. Absolutely. Shout out to Sarah Kelly. Thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you so much, Sister Clarice. Thank you for that super chat. The big homie, Jay New Orleans, he said, keep shining your light of truth and salvation. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate that. Thank you. A few announcements, you guys. I want to, tomorrow, I'm going to show you guys, I interviewed Bishop Garland Hunt, who is now in charge of the Douglas Leadership Institute. And it is a wonderful interview, you guys. I'm going to show it tomorrow. I'll probably premiere it maybe 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I haven't decided, but I really want you guys to come and watch it because, as you guys know, I have such sharp criticism for the ethnic expression of the Black church because that's my people, right? Like, I'm Harriet. I'm trying to snatch my people out the fire. But Bishop Garland Hunt is of the melanin persuasion. He is a local pastor here in the Norcross area, and he is over the Douglas Leadership Institute. And there's a conference coming up next week that I'm actually a part of. And I want you guys to come and listen to this interview because for all of the criticism that I do have for the ethnic expression of the Black church, I don't ever want you guys to believe that there's not a remnant of faithful pastors who love God, who love his word, and who have not sold out to the Democrat Party. And it's not a lot of them, but the ones that are out, I do want to introduce you guys to them and let you guys know who they are because they deserve to have the spotlight on them. But tomorrow's interview ain't even about Bishop Hunt. It's actually about the Faith, Family, and Freedom, the annual conference of the Douglas Leadership Institute. It's their annual conference. So take a look at this. Faith, Family, and Freedom. 3 words that define who we are and what we stand for. This November, the Frederick Douglass Leadership Institute invites you to the 2025 DLI Annual Conference, a gathering of bold voices, fearless leaders, and unshakable truth. From November 6th through November 8th, join us at the Hilton Atlanta Northeast in Peachtree Corners, Georgia, where leaders like Bob Woodson Sr., Dr. Alveda King, Bishop Wellington Boone, Dr. Patricia Bailey, Bishop Vincent Matthews, and many more will stand together to declare our faith, our family, our freedom. This isn't just another conference, you guys. It's a movement. This is a call to return to righteousness, justice, liberty, and virtue. And this year, I've got something super special for you. I'll be broadcasting Unshakable with April Chapman live on site, and I'll be sitting down with King Randall, founder of X School for Boys, right here in Albany, Georgia, for a powerful conversation that you do not want to miss. You'll also hear from my brother, the big homie, Pastor John Amachukwu, a leading voice in the fight for truth in our culture and churches today. So please mark your calendars, November 6th through the 8th, Atlanta, Georgia, the Douglas Leadership Institute's annual conference. Be there, be bold, and be unshakable. Register today at conference.dliinstitute.org. Can't wait to see you there. Amen. So listen, if you're in Alabama, if you're in Chattanooga, Tennessee, parts of South Carolina, parts of, Central or North Georgia, I need to see you guys November 6th through the 8th in Peachtree Corners, Georgia at the Douglas Leadership Institute Conference. You guys, you can visit DLI Institute, or is it dlinstitute.org or DLI Institute? Listen, type them both, whichever one gets you there, then that's the right one. When you get to the website, there's a button in the middle of the page that says 2025 Conference. All of the evening sessions are free, but there is a small registration fee, you guys. Douglas Leadership Institute is a nonprofit. So you want to go ahead and support. But I need to offer or tell you guys a correction. I thought that I was bringing my show Unshakable with April on Saturday at noon. And y'all, I didn't find out until a couple of days ago, may have been last week, that my session is on Friday at 12 noon. And so I do apologize. It just was a mix in communication, and it caused me to have to rearrange some travel for, the big homie Henry Hollywood Morris and his beautiful wife Cressida. But we're gonna make it, and they're gonna be there. Production will be in full effect. But I am doing the Affinity Luncheon at the conference, and I'll be interviewing King Randall. You guys, he has been on my short list of people to interview. He is the founder of the X School for Boys, and he is just so young and so prolific, and I'm so incredibly proud of this young man. I feel like he's like the son that if my son grew up and became a man, that he would be it. So I'm looking forward to interviewing him and just bringing, the unshakable, the little vibe to the conference. It's going to be amazing. But it's November 6th through the 8th, which is next Thursday through Saturday. I'm hoping to see you guys there. Now, I always like to bookend my show with a resource. I love to talk. Yeah, I can go. I can talk 3-4 hours if you let me. I'm not going to do that tonight, though. But in light of what we've talked about in terms of the government shutdown, the uncertainty of that shutdown, the paycheck instability or the absence thereof, I wanted to share with you guys a resource that either you or a friend who might be dealing with this, and you're trusting God, but you're like, I'm a little fearful. Or you're like, I trust God, but this is my fault. I didn't prepare. I don't have a savings. My anxiety level is heightened, and I don't know what tomorrow holds because the Democrats done played in my face. Well, the first thing I want to do, yes, we talked a lot of doom and gloom, but God is faithful. Okay, God is faithful, and we've never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. But as a way for you to encourage a friend who may be going through something right now, I want to share a resource. This one is When Fear Meets Faith. It is a Bible study. I think it's 3 weeks. Maybe it's 4. Let me make sure. This one's a 4-week study about fear and being faithful despite the fear. Like, fear is a very real emotion. Now, there are instances where fear is an indication for you to trust and lean on God. But we also know the scripture tells us that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. So I want to share this resource with you guys. If you or a family member are experiencing adverse effects of this government shutdown, or if you just want to be a blessing to someone who struggles with fear as it relates to their faith, go ahead to standardhomeandliving.com, grab you a copy of this. It is a 4-week study that will just biblically kind of help you walk through what that looks like, what the pain points are, and what scripture has to say about it to help you through. And then the other resource for those of you who might be experiencing adverse effects of this government shutdown. Some people sink into depression. They have serious anxiety. You're not able to sleep. You're losing weight. I want to share with you this other study from my Christian lifestyle store called Never Alone, Walking with God Through Depression. You guys, Christians get depressed. Okay? Like the psalmist, King David got depressed. Okay? It is not an emotion that Christians are immune to. However, how we handle and deal with our depression, we should endeavor to do so biblically. And so I have this resource. It's also available. This is a 4-week study. You guys, these are beautifully illustrated. These are not, little cheap booklets. It is biblically sound. I only want to share resources that are rooted in biblical truth, that are exegetically accurate, because I don't want to lead you astray or be the one that it's my fault because I led you to a resource that was less than, solid. And so if you're interested in getting this, hey, if you have a friend, gift them one, gift them both. But these are incredible resources to help our loved ones who they might, granted, put some money on the books. Go on and send them a little cash app to help. But you could also send them a practical resource for them to use so that they can cling to Christ during this hour. Because I can't imagine going to work every day knowing there's no paycheck coming. And for the Democrats to do this, it is diabolical, but it's who they are. It's who they are. I'm not saying that the Republicans are the party of Jesus. That's not what I'm saying. But there's one that's actively harming you with their policies, and one that is actively trying to remove the artificial waste and just get the heck up out the way so that you can live in America the way our founding fathers intended for you to live. And so, with that being said, I am on round 3 of Hot Flash. This is the third one. I took my supplements today. I've been doing so good. I don't know if this one is because I'm worked up. I don't know. I want to be free from this bondage of sin. Oh my gosh. Y'all. I know there's hope. I know there's hope. I've talked to so many women who are dealing with the same pathology, and they've offered solutions, some of which I actually intend to employ. Father, in the name, help me, Lord. I want to give you guys, before I let you go, there is a show that I'm working on that is super important. And the reason why I want to cover this show is because I have a theory. I have a theory that many women in my age cohort, I've noticed a pattern. I've noticed a pattern that as we transition from our childbearing years to whatever you call these years coming up, that many of us are or have wrecked our homes and divorced our husbands. There is something emotionally and psychologically going on with women during those perimenopausal years, but I've noticed even the Christian ones, all of the marriages that I know that have broken up, 9 times out of 10, when I ask, how old is your wife or was your wife? What is the age range of this woman? And I hear 45, 48, 52, 55. I'm like, yep, I know what that is. She done lost her mind. She going through perimenopause. She crazy as a loon. Okay, listen, I'm going through it. I know that I am not the person I was 5 years ago. There is something hormonally going on. And every day, it is through the power of the Holy Spirit that I stay in my right mind, or at least close enough to it. Okay? It is by God's grace that my husband and my children, we are a family. There is nothing that is going to break that up. I don't care what kind of hormonal changes I'm going through. We are going to get through it. But I want to do a show about it because this is real. I know men that I'm like, what the heck happened? And they're like, she started wilding out and she left. And I'm like, what do you mean she left? She left. Some come to their senses, most of them don't. And by the time the ones that do come to their senses, it's too late. It's like years later they realize, they're like, I screwed up. I messed up bad. I don't even know who that woman was. Why would I do that? So I want to talk about it. I'm going to talk. We're going to go through some case studies. We're going to look at some videos. There is something to this. But the question is, what does the Christian woman do? What are we seeing in the Christian context of these women who are doing this, making these rash, women, y'all know I love y'all, but I'm going to keep it 100. We are already illogical. Okay, there's just some, we ain't all the way there when we're not going through this. There is something going on, and it concerns me that in the household of faith, Christian women are doing this. And I'm like, nobody's talking about it. The men there's no male support group for the Christian man whose wife is crazy. And then them poor children, the babies, okay? The babies are like, we just stay out of the way because we don't know which mama we gonna get. One minute she crying, the next minute she tearing up the house, the next minute she hot, then she cold. We ain't had a meal cooked in a month of Sundays. Like, we don't know what's going on. I know there are even pets that are like, that's not my person. My person did not act like this 5 years ago. What happened to my person? So I want to do a video about it. I'll try to inject some humor, but there's nothing funny about the families who have been broken up and torn apart because these perimenopausal women have decided that they're not happy and they just leave. Some of them are blaming it on the Lord told me to do it. I'm like, you a lie. We already know God didn't tell you that. So you listening to some demonic spirit that has influenced this decision. You know, some women, I've heard all kinds of excuses. Well, I wasn't happy. And, I outgrew him. Or, it's so many different explanations. And I just want to get ahead of it because I've looked at my analytics. And the demographic that listens to me the most are perimenopausal women and postmenopausal women. And I am a proponent for the family. We keep families together. We don't do broken homes over here. And so I want to get ahead of it and use my platform to talk about this. Because if you are 40, it's coming. And you need to mentally and spiritually prepare yourself that when it happens, you'll be like, I know what this is. You ain't catching me. Okay? The estrogen gets depleted, but my mind, I'm keeping it stayed on Jesus. It is a spiritual battle, and it is a fight. And y'all, if you've been following me on this platform since 2022, many of you guys remember when it started for me. First of all, my face started getting a little chubby, right? So the cortisol started holding on to that. Then subscribers were sending me fans because they're like, I don't know what she going through. I'm blaming it on the lights and the irregular temperature in the house. I was going through it for a year before I realized, I was like, this is not normal. I started experiencing adult acne. I hadn't had acne since high school. And I was just like, what the hell? What am I going through? And then just the swole, just swole up to where I was like, I can't eat nothing. Every time I eat, I'm just 5 pounds. I've been fighting the same 5 pounds for 3 years. It just come up, come down. Every time I go out of town, I come back 5 pounds chubbier, and then I gotta go back and get it off. And it really messes with your psyche. So that show, I don't have a date for that show. But when I do that show, if you are a man and you have a perimenopausal woman in your life that you love, you need to be like, listen, you need to watch this show. Don't tell her that you think it's her, that she's suffering, but just invite her to watch the show. And I just want to tell you guys about that. So it's going to be a very transparent show. I ain't going to bear it all, but we have to talk about this because I'm noticing within the Christian context, women are suffering. The husbands don't know what to do. The kids are confused. Like we have to rally. The elders need to do. I told one of my elders, I said, listen, you need to make it a requirement in the new members track if you get a new family, a new member, and the woman is in that perimenopausal age, she has to have a supplemental new members class. I told my elder, he laughed. I was like, you thought I was joking? I ain't playing. I said, Pastor, I'm not playing. I'm dead serious. And then when he thought about it, he was like, you know what? You're right, because I've seen this happen. All the perimenopausal women, he's like, they just nut up and they leave, break up the marriage. They want a divorce. Yes. So if you are a pastor on here, trust me, you want to help your flock. You got a new members. And even if the person is not new and they're doing those 8, you need to be like, listen, we have a supplemental class that we need all the women. If you are between ages of, I say start the class at 42. If they're between 42 and like 57, make them take this class. Just make them take it. But like, we just need you to initial and say you took it. We trying to keep families together. I'm saying, y'all think I'm joking. I told my pastor that. Anyway, we all need hope. We all need hope. It's the men, these men. Oh, y'all pray for the husbands. I know they're going through it. I know they are. It is horrible. It is a very hard. And that's the thing. My kids are teenagers. So I'm catching it from both sides. Anyway, I love you guys. Until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.